My name is Jane Dubois-Chibirike, the Clerk to Parliament, and I'm here to talk about the journey of 100 years of the Parliament of Uganda. 23rd March 2021, the Parliament of Uganda celebrated 100 years of its existence. The journey has been long. There were ups and downs. So we had the roots of the legislature in 1920. 1920, the order of the council was proclaimed to establish the Legislative Council. Since then, the institution of the legislature has evolved in mandate, size, and significance. The Legco generally had limited legislative powers, as most important decisions came from the British government in the Whitehall. Its main responsibility was that of making legislation for law and order in Uganda Protectorate. In terms of mandate, Article 79(1) of the 1995 Constitution bestows upon Parliament the mandate of making laws on any matter of peace, order, development, and good governance of the country. This speaks to the widened mandate of the legislature beyond just law and order as it was at inception in 1921. From the 7 members of the Legco in 1921, all of them Europeans, the size of the Legco grew in response to the need for increased representation of the natives, rising from 7 to 32 members in 1950, and then 61 members in 1955, and 78 members in 1961. Of course, as you understand, the Legco has, as Parliament, we've really developed and we've come from far. From 7 members of Parliament in the 1921 to now 459 currently in this 10th Parliament. And we hope in the 11th Parliament we are going to have 529. So as the growth in the membership of Parliament, you've seen that we've really grown from 7 to 529 come 11th Parliament. The National Assembly from 1962 to 1966 was headed by John Griffin, and Right Honorable Nandela Patel was the Speaker from 1963 to 1966. In 1967 to 1971, the Republican Constitution was established, and still Right Honorable Narendra Patel was still the head of the Parliament. And that was from the post-colonial law to the institutional reform as the main preoccupation. So that period, the main preoccupation was the post-colonial laws, and also to have an institutional reform. After 1971 and to 1979, of course, that was when we had the military rule, and Parliament went into abeyance. So after that, we got the National Consultative Council. That was 1979 to 1980, under the chairmanship of Professor Rugumayo. And then that was the 3rd Parliament. Then the 4th Parliament was between 1980 to 1985, and that was under the leadership of Right Honorable Francis Butagira as the Speaker. This one laid the ground for post-war reconstruction and legislative adoption. So it was like almost starting afresh to reconstruct the Parliament. After the military intervention in 1985, the 5th Parliament was established. That was between 1986 to 1996. This was under the leadership of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, assisted or deputized by Alhaji Moses Chigongo. And this was preoccupied with the post-war reconstruction notably opened political representation and also special interest groups in 1989. That's when we had the disabled, we thought about the women representation. The Constituent Assembly came in 1994 to 1995, and it was headed by Dr. James Wapakablo. This is the time, the parliament that formulated the constitution that we are following now, the 1995 constitution. So it was spearheaded by Dr. James Wapakablo and his team. And this was basically their legacy was the constitution, the 1995 constitution. And then they also emphasized the multi-party politics, which was achieved a decade later, which was in 2005, after 1995. The sixth parliament was headed by still Honorable James Wapakablo, and also later James Wapakablo was there 1996 to 1998, and then James Ayume also took the mantle in 1998 to 2001. Theirs was basically overhauling the governance fabric and also adapting the various laws to the new constitution order established in 1995. So that's when the implementation of the constitution started. The seventh parliament was between 2001 to 2006, and the eighth parliament was 2006 to 2011. And these parliaments were headed by His Excellency Kiwanuka Edward Sekandi. And he was instrumental in the revival of the multi-party dispensation or politics, and had been interrupted, which had been interrupted in 1985. So basically his term is when the multi-party dispensation came to be also life. The ninth parliament from 2011 to 2016, and the 10th parliament from 2016 to 2021. These parliaments were headed by the Right Honorable Rebecca Litwala Kadaga, who is currently the Speaker, and has been instrumental in consolidating the strides made by the previous parliaments, in addition to vouching for greater equity and inclusiveness in the management of public affairs. You will see and evidence that Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga is very instrumental and always advocates for the marginalized, for the women, for the disabled, the youth. So these two parliaments really emphasized that we had actions to speak to that. We now have the youth parliament. We hold the public parliament where members of public come and see. So even it's in these two parliaments that even parliament is now visible in the eyes of the public. So the numerical progression in the size of the legislature, as I've told you, from the numbers 7 to now expecting 529. So the LegCo admitted the first 3 natives in 1945. And these were representing Buganda, Western, Eastern provinces, and there were Michael Kawalia Kagwa Ernest, who was the Katikiro then of Buganda. Then we had Petro Nyangabyachi, the Katikiro of Bunyoro, Yekonia Zirabamuzale from Busoga was the Secretary General then for the Kyabazinga. And then in 1949, one more native, Matayo Lamotte, was joined the LegCo from the Northern Province. By 1950, the number of natives in the LegCo had increased to 8, from 4 to 8. And out of the 32 members at that time, the numerical strength of natives increased to 61 in 1955. There was progression in the numbers of the natives especially. So that means there was a decrease of the Europeans. But why was Parliament established in the first place? First, of course, during the colonial days and early after the colonial days, it was basically formulation of laws. But the laws were almost coming from the colonial powers. We are in that era of after colonialism. Many of things have happened. There are a lot of changes. So now the mandate of Parliament is representation. That's why we elect them to represent constituencies or districts or persons with disability, UPDF, we have the youth. So they represent, they have a constituent they represent. Then we have oversight. Oversight that deals with basic accountability. Members go out to look at the government projects, they monitor government projects and they help the executive. And then when they monitor and they find something, they make recommendations. Sometimes these projects are slow, sometimes the work is not up to standard. So those are all what the members go to look for. Then there are times when the project is done properly, and then they also give, extend a thank you or a note of appreciation to those who have done it, to the ministry that was overseeing it, and also to the executive. So basically they have to do that accountability. That's why we even have the accountability committees, to look at the expenditures, to look at the earnings. And then we have lawmaking. Of course, lawmaking would have been the first one. So the legislature makes laws for the good governance of our country. And also the laws help the constituents, the public, to live in sanity. Live in sanity and get what they want, they have to get, because those laws give the mandates to ministries, to the government to provide, like social services, education. Then we also have appropriation. Appropriation, that is the budget. It's the mandate of Parliament to scrutinize the budgets that come from the ministries, that is consolidated by the Minister of Finance, and then they also look at what their constituencies need, and they take into consideration all that as they appropriate. So you might say that as a Minister of Works, we need so much money. Then health needs so much. Then Parliament can say, okay, works, it's the load. But then health, it's the well-being of the public, the masses. So it can say, okay, this year let's reduce money from works to give more money to health, to take care of the patients, also buy drugs or make interventions like for malaria, fight by buying nets, mosquito nets. So that's what it does. Yeah, that's the appropriation. So it's basically 4: legislation, representation, oversight, and then appropriation. So as Parliament tries to address their mandate, there are a number of activities through which they do this work. We have the plenary sessions, and these plenary sits on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays afternoon, 2 to 5 or beyond. The morning session is mainly the committees from on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The committees morning from 10 to 1, they are doing the work that is assigned to them from the plenary. They look at the petitions, they look at the motions, they look at the bills in the committees. Then We have oversight where the committees go outside to look at the projects, as I told you, that they do oversight. So they go outside to look at the projects, projects like bridges, roads, construction of schools, construction of hospitals, look at the supplies in the hospitals of medicines and sundries and everything. So those are also activities that the Parliament do. And when they go for oversight, they make reports, and those reports are submitted to the plenary, discussed, and make recommendations which are forwarded to the executive for their action. So some of the achievements that we've got, we can celebrate a number of laws that have been made since 1921 up to now. I will only talk about this 10th Parliament. We've had enacted 25 bills which have been now assented to, and 7 bills have been returned. HE has not signed them, but has returned them with some recommendations which the committees are looking at, and then they will submit them again to him after we've finished and approved by Parliament. Government also requests Parliament to authorize borrowing. So we've authorized a number of motions to borrow, and so far we've authorized 14 motions. Then we pay tribute, when we lose people, we pay tribute. If they are members of Parliament, we normally bring them here. If they are, celebrated personalities in our country, we also pay tribute. So far this Parliament, the 10th Parliament, we've had 12 tributes that we've paid, including the one of His Excellency Magufuli. We've had 35 resolutions that we've accomplished and approved, adopted, and also we've handled 57 ministerial policy statements. 118 questions have been answered. Some were answered by the Prime Minister during his question time, and others have been responded to by various ministers. And then we've also adopted 14 committee reports. During the 100 years, as I've told you, I've enumerated some achievements, but we still have many achievements. As of now, we are expanding construction. We are carrying out the construction of the chamber to expand it, because the current chamber was meant to seat only 86 members. So now we have that construction going on, and we appreciate government that has given us money. We also have had, we constructed the underground car park, which accommodates 500 vehicles. We also had another floor added on the north wing to make them 6. So that was also expanding the office space. We also achieved that. Amongst the achievements, of course, you can't fail to have challenges. In these 100 years, of course, we had the challenges of when Parliament was in abeyance, and then we started again. So the challenges that we've had, especially this Parliament, in this 10th Parliament, the main challenge was brought by COVID. COVID has interrupted our normal sittings. We had to leave the chamber, which is small, and to sit in the tents. The tents are not ours, so we hire them, and we have to pay monthly, which is also some good money that we are losing. And in the tents, of course, the numbers are limited. We only accommodate 100 members, meaning that the rest can follow the proceedings or participate in them while at home through Zoom. That one also has its challenge because not everybody has a good network, internet network. So sometimes one registers to contribute on a certain item on the agenda, on the order paper, but then finds himself or herself in a situation where the network is not good and then fails to contribute. So that one has brought a challenge that not everyone can represent his or her constituents unless if he's among the 100 members present on that day. Then, of course, as I told you, the network challenges, staff have to work from home, and yet there are a lot of work that is needed, especially when plenary is sitting. We need the editors, we need the ICT people, staff, and the clerks, but because of COVID, we had to scale down on the numbers, and that means that there are delays in accomplishing the work, especially when we have to edit the Hansards and publish it on that very day. We are planning to dissolve this parliament by next week Friday, which will be 7th. Once the parliament is dissolved, then we'll have the new parliament coming in, and it comes in from 17th. That's when the new members start swearing in. But because of the big number, we cannot swear them in on the same day, on one day. We are going to have the whole week swearing members of parliament from 17th to 20th, which is a Thursday, and then on 21st, that's when we'll have 21st May, that's when we'll have the first sitting of parliament. And during that first sitting, it's a sitting where the speaker and the deputy speaker are elected, and they are elected by secret ballot. After that, we are going to increase the ICT. We have to expand our ICT network because we don't know when COVID will go, so that many members can participate, especially during the plenary sittings. We are also going to increase the civic awareness. Civic awareness is, informing the public what we do, what they are supposed to do. If one has a petition, how does that person reach parliament to present that petition? So we will still continue to educate the public. If COVID goes, then we will have to resume with our having the parliament week where we host the public and also we host the public parliament. And also, of course, in this globalization, we are also going to continue with our regional and international engagements through conferences and seminars. As of now, we are doing it virtually, but we'll still continue until when the situation normalizes. So we've just enacted our strategic plan, and we are going to start implementing it come this 11th parliament. Now, as you've seen, and as I've elaborated on the 100 years, we've not moved alone. We've moved with partners. Government was supporting us. So many people have been supporting us. So at this juncture, I like to appreciate the support that we've received from our development partners, from the government, from the ministries, from the members of parliament, the management of parliament, the speaker, the deputy speaker, the commission, the staff of parliament. All of us have moved together. The public, they've also supported us. So we thank everyone. I thank everybody on behalf of parliament, those who have made us what we are, those who have tolerated us in whatever we are doing. We thank you so much. We thank government for the continued support financially. We thank you. And we also thank UBC, who has been our partner. UBC has been airing and is still airing our plenary sessions. They are still with us. We thank you, UBC, and we will still continue to work with you. I thank you so much, and I wish you God's blessings for God and my country.